Good afternoon. Welcome to today's class. So today we'll be moving straight to a new topic. Last class we were able to finish the introductory aspect to Python. We were able to do what is called syntax. You understand what syntax is, how it is being written. We introduce ourselves to our first function called print function. And we also introduce ourselves to another one called the input function. So we're able to do one or two things with it to see how applicable all those things are. And I believe we understood those ones. So today we'll go a little bit higher just for us to see how best Python is being used, right? So I'm going to create a new file for this. So I'm going to show you how to create a new file from here. So basically what we just need to do is just come here or anywhere around here to right click. So once you right click, you will see new. From new, you come to Python file because it's a Python file. So this time around, we want to do conditional statement. So I can just make it, call it conditional statement. Yes, or if else statement. I can just say conditional. Condition. Let me just put it condition. Condition.py. So here we're working with the container. So just press enter. So we already have a new file called condition.py. Here we're working with conditional statement. So what are conditional statements? So let me make it bigger. So I'm sure you can see it better now. So what are conditional statements? Conditional statements are statements that are used to control the flow of a program. Statement that we use to control the flow of a program is called conditional statements. And what do I really mean? So let's take, for example, we have a login page of a website. I'm sure you must have interacted with a login page in any form before, right? Right? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sure you must have interacted with a login page of any form before, right? So, once you log on to that particular page, for example, your Yahoo page or your Google Mail, for example, if you really want to log in, it will ask you to enter your username and password, right? So, if the username and the password are valid, yeah, you'll be granted access to your personal account, right? Otherwise, Otherwise, if that thing is not valid, right? If the username and the password you put is not valid, there will be a message that will pop up saying invalid username or password, right? Try and use or try to contact blah 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 blah. There will be a pop-up message that would come online. So behind the scene, here's the behind the scene of that thing that is happening. So there's a conditional statement that is being used to check that thing. So I want you to have it at the back of your mind. So once you log on to a particular page and you are trying to do a login, username and password, this is the back end that is happening. This is the back end thing behind the scene that is happening. That is what we really want to do today. So there is a conditional statement that is being used to check if the password, if the username you are using corresponds to the username you used when you were registering on that particular platform, right? And the password you're also imputing corresponds to the password you used when you were registering on that particular platform. So basically, they will have to check those things together to make sure that you are the real owner of that account, right? If you are the owner, so of course it will grant you access. If you are not the owner, it will bounce you back. And that is the first level of security on web programming. Are you getting what I'm saying? That's the first level of security, what in web programming. I use that particular example because I'm sure you have a Gmail account. That I'm sure of. And you must have used it one way or the other before. You must have logged in one way or the other yourself. And the behind the scene of what really happened when you were able to successfully log in was because the username and the password you used corresponds to the username and the password you used when you were registering. And that was why the account was able Google was able to grant you access to access your account, right? So there are three main conditional statements in Python and in all programming languages. There are three main conditional statements in all programming languages. And what are those conditional statements? So I'm going to put it here. We have the if statement, we have the else statement, and we have the else if statement. Please list them. We have the if statement, we have the else statement, and we have the else if statement. Those are the three conditional statements. So I'm going to start with the if statement. So the if statement itself. So I'm going to start with the if statement. So what do we really mean by if statement? So this is used to evaluate a block of code. So I'm going to show you a block of code. Like I think during the last class, I talked about something about block of code when we were discussing about indentation, right? So I'm going to show you what a block of code really means. And once you move out of the block of code, I'm going to show you what it really means, right? So if statement is used to evaluate a block of code if the expression follows it, for that particular expression to follow it. So for example, so I'm going to give an example. So let's assume I have, say, Mariam. I'm just going to use shortened form of Mariam, MAR, to be equals to, say, 10, right? And I can say Camila, can say Cam, can be equals to, this time around, so let's say 20. Let's say 20 for now, right? So if I'm going to use an if statement, so I can say, if I'm going to use the if statement now, I can just come here and say if I'm going to use an if statement in Python, we start with an if itself, right? We have if, right? Then the variables that you're trying to consider. So if mar, right, is equal to, so what do you mean by equal to equality sign here now? Equality sign is not going to be this, Abby, or this. So what's the difference between this sign and this sign?
One is just to assign and one is the origin is the value of what they're trying.
Yeah, the first one is what?
One is for assigning a value.
Yeah, the other one is for what?
Like maybe we say 2 plus 5 is equals to something. Equals to 7.
No, 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 no. But you are right with the first one. The second one is used to get, how will I put it? Is used to get an equality sign itself. The equality sign you are looking for is the second one. We use that one to get it. For example, can I say, if okay, this is like what I'm trying to do. If I'm going to say Miriam is equal to 20, right? If I say Miriam is equal to, I want to check for that particular condition. I want to check that condition. Is that condition true? Is Miriam equals to 20 truly? So if I'm going to check that particular condition, right? So I'm going to use this particular sign. If I'm just assigning, this is what I'm going to use. So the result for this will be either true or false. Are you getting what I'm saying now? So please, if you are trying to define it, put that there. The result of this will be either true or false, right? But the result of this will bring back the value that we assigned it to. So for example, this is an assignment symbol, right? But this is a conditional statement. Do you understand now? Aha, please.
Yes, sir.
Aha. So this time around, is it the assignment that I'm going to use here or the conditional statement? It's going to be the conditional symbol, the conditional equality sign. Why? Because I want to make sure that the result should be true or false. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to make sure
Yes,
the
sir.
result I'm using will be what? Either true or false. So I'm going to say, if Maria is equal to Cam, then can you see the way I'm speaking English? My then is now a full column. Then, yeah, this is where I'm going. You can see immediately I press enter, there's a space between this and this. And this is the block of code. Then I can just say print. I can just use my print statement. I can just say print Camila is equal to Mariam. right? If I do this, perfect, right? So let's check. But for obvious reason, this is not the right thing. It's not correct, right? So let's check. If I run this particular code, let's see what will happen. Nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. Why? Because this statement is not correct, which means it is false. So imagine I now change this back to 20 and I run again. Can you see what I have here? Why is this thing showing here, Camila? Why is this result showing here? Can you hear me? Okay, Miriam, why is it showing here?
Because the statement is true. They're equal to each other.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Right? The other one is wrong, right? So let me change this back to 1, which is 10. So let's check if I say this is less than, let me use the less than statement. This is less than this. Of course, I will can change this to say Mariam or Mar is less than Cam. We can do that. You can change this to Mar is less than Cam. Right? So if you run this particular code, of course it will change. It will change, right? Can you see? Because the statement is true. Do you understand? Because the statement is true. So basically, we can see how best this works into play. We can change it again. We can have another one that we can also use the reverse is the case. So now imagine if the statement is now false. So what will happen? Right? Another thing that we can also do is we can also do a conjugating condition. But let's leave that aside. Now imagine if this statement is not true. If this statement is not true, we should be able to show something. Abi? Because initially, imagine I change this to say greater, right? Imagine I change this to greater and I run this particular code. Nothing will happen. You know where I got this greater? All these symbols are the symbols we did during the last class. So if you don't still remember, please go back to the last class and go and check. Right? Go and check the explanation of all these things. I won't be explaining again just that way because I believe we've done it before, right? So is assuming if this particular thing is not true. Of course, it's not true. We should be able to show our clients or people coming to check our app something. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is where the else statement comes into play, right? That is where the else statement comes into play. And what do I mean? So basically, if I have this particular condition just the way we have it here, right? And it's not true, I can come here and just write else statement. I can just say else, sorry, else with my else statement. Then, so if you are writing else, right? Else does not contain or does not have a condition. Else is just trying to negate the first condition that you have. So if the condition you have is not true, right? Show this. If it is true, show that. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the first condition
Yes,
is
sir.
not true, show so that is where your else comes into play. So the question is not going to be print, the reverse is the case. Cam is less than Mar. It's greater than Mar. Sorry, this will be greater than. Cam is greater than Mar. So this is where the else comes into play. So if condition is trying to put if the condition is true, print sim. So basically, if I'm now going to do something. We are going to work something out ourselves and see how it works better, right? So which is going to be this. So if you run this now, you will see that at least it's not going to be empty. Can you see? At least
Yes, sir.
the result is not going to be what? Empty. Something needs to be shown to our client or the user using our app. And that is how if works very well. So the now question is not going to be, you want to put everything into consideration. Imagine I now have more than one conditions. It's possible. Imagine I have what? More than one condition. So imagine I have so many conditions in terms of this particular number. So I can add another number called, let me put my own name there, NAC, Abi, to be equals to 30. Abi, this is the first condition. So I can have the first condition to be saying mar should be greater than this. I can also have another condition, right? That wants to compare NAC and CAM, NAC and mar. Do you understand? So I can have like three different conditions, right? I can have like three different conditions. So the first question, the first one is going to have this, right? So where we are going to have, once you now have more than one condition, that is when we have your else if. The else if is trying to say, I have another condition that I want to work. Like I said, I told you earlier, else does not have a condition. So I have another condition trying to compare NAC with MAR, right? So I'm going to have this. NAC is greater than MAR. So if NAC is greater than MAR, what should we have? I can say NAC is greater than, should be greater than, yeah, for obvious reason. Is greater than, is greater than MAR, right? I can have another condition again, else if, that compare CAM and NAC, yes, just the way we have earlier. Then you can see everything is working perfectly well. You can say CAM, if CAM is greater than NAC, yes, CAM will be greater than NAC. That's another condition. You can have another condition. I can have another else if. Like I can have another else if comparing MAR and NAC. We've done that one. We've not done that one. MAR and NAC. Okay, we did NAC and MAR. We want to compare MAR and NAC. MAR is less than NAC yeah, for obvious reason. Can you see? These are different conditions that we can have. Then we can now stop with another one with else statement. With my else, I can now say print everything is correct. I can just say else none might be correct. Can you see? So when do we use else if? We use else if when we have two or more conditions, right? Once we have two or more conditions, that is when we are going to have else if. So let's check where this thing will stop. Let's check what this will show us. So if I run this particular code right now, so NAC is greater than MAR. Where is NAC is greater than MAR that it showed us? Else, the second else if, that is when it stopped. Because for obvious reason, NAC is greater than MAR. So imagine if I now increase this to say 60, increase this to say 80. Let's see where this will stop. CAM is greater than NAC. Where is it? Where's CAM is greater than NAC? This second one. For obvious reason, CAM is greater than NAC. Yeah. Do you understand? Except if I'm going to change these particulars from less than, from greater than to less than, then change another one to equal to equality sign. You will see that it's showing me an error. Why? Because this equality sign is not the one I should use. This is an assignment symbol, right? So it should be double equality sign, right? It should be double equality sign. Do you understand? So yeah, we can have this. I can also have this. So let's run this again. Let's see where this will stop. Mar is less than NAC. Stopped from the first one. Where's Mar? Mar is greater than. This is greater than. I'm using less than here. So let's check. Let's change this to less than. And let's run again. Let's see where it will stop. Mar is less than NAC.
Yeah.
Is Mar less than NAC?
No, sir.
No, this is here. You have it here. This is the Mar less than NAC. Where is Mar? Uh-huh.
Mary 60.
Uh-huh. This is greater than sign. This is not a less than sign. So this should be greater than. That's a greater than sign. It should be greater than. Yeah, this should be less than. Yeah, so mar is greater than. That is what it should be showing us. You see to show mar is greater than nak. Where is it? Because mar is obviously greater than. That is obvious. Very, very obvious. Uh, mar is not less than. Okay, so mar is obviously greater than nak. So this is what is happening here. So imagine and I put everything to be equality sign. Equal to, equal to, equal to. If I say equal to, of course, it will tell me none might be correct. Can you see? It has gone through all this condition and none is correct. So that is when it should now give me this else statement. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is how if, else if, and if, else, and else if works. So a practical example is what we are going to use in class. And what is it? We're able to do input statement, right? I can just say, okay, I want a username. I can just say username will be equals to, sorry, username will be equals to input statement using your username. Enter your username. Yeah, I will do password. Use an input statement, enter your password. I can say, no, I can say register your name or enter your name, username, enter your password to be this, right? So if I now want to do the normal if statement, I can now come down and say, use the if statement now. If, so I can, okay, from here, let me confirm something. Let me create something like username. Let me create a variable. Assuming I already have a variable name called username1 to be equals to, so what will be my username? What's your name? I can use, I can say Camila@gmail.com. That's your username. Or let's just say Camila, right? And I say password, I say password1 to be equals to say Mariam. But this time around, I want to make it very secure. I have capital letter M, Mariam. So because Mariam is a text, so it's going to be in quote, right? Aha. So which makes sense. This is also being in quote. So I now said, and I want to have people to write their username and password. So I can now have my if statement to compare. I can just say if username that you are putting is equals to just the way we did the last thing that we did is equals to username1. You know where username1 is? I'm saying if that user is putting in, this is the back end of what is happening when you put in your login details. That is what I want to show you. Yeah, is this. And you forget, do you remember when we were using hand? And means what? The two must be correct, must be true, Abby. And password is also equals to the password. It's equals to password1. Then print you have logged in successfully. else print I want to use those words that you normally see. Username or password do not match. Most times, is it do not match that I normally put? Is it do not match or is incorrect? Username or password, I think is incorrect. Yeah. So with what we've just done, let me explain again what we did. Assuming I already have my database, I've registered, and this is the username I have in the database. This is the username I have in the database, the password I have in the database, and it's been stored with this particular variable. So I'm now asking my user to input all these things. So you will see what it means. So let me quickly come here. I can comment all this out. Then we can now run this code again. Right? So let's run it and let's see. Enter your name. So let me put my own name, Nakel. Password. I'm going to do Nakel again. So let's press enter. Can you see what I'm saying here? Can you see it? Mariam, Camilla, can you see it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So which means the username or password I used is incorrect. You can see the application of what we are trying to do. Now imagine I want to run the real thing, right? I want to run the correct one. I will just come here. Then what's the username that is saved inside the password inside the database?
I'm here.
Okay, right. So what's the password?
No,
Huh?
no,
Okay. Okay. Would is this Miriam correct?
no,
Huh?
no,
Yes, right?
no.
So which one should I use?
The N is in uppercase.
Oh, you will see that all these things are very, very important. So I'll just do Mariam, right? So let's press enter and let's see what happens. Can you see? You have logged in successfully. So which means if there is a particular thing I want them to see, they can easily see it right from here. So this happens also on the web, right? If you can write this successfully, showing you everything in this particular terminal, you can as well replicate this on the web by just changing one or two things. Because you've been able to write this successfully because we already have this. So instead of now showing this being you want to add this, you want to make it hard coded. Yeah, you can make it hard coded. All right. But if you want to make it good, like want people to register, you can just say a username, register here. So instead of using being the hard-coded factor type, you can just create the form. From the form, you can just do an input statement and do an input statement by saying enter your username. Registered username. I say register your username. Right? Then here you can say input. So this time around, I don't want it to be hard coded. I want you to be the one to put it there yourself. So register your password and just say register your password. Yeah, instead of saying enter your username, I would just say login, login, correct username, login, correct password. So, which means right now, register your username. So I can just say my username is Nakel. What's my password? My password can be green. Abi? So the next one is going to be what? Login correct username. Abi, what's my correct username? Nakel. What's my correct password? Green. Then enter. You've logged in successfully. So instead of being outcoded, you can see we've tweaked it again, Abby, to make it more interesting. So you can now do it in a much more better way that would to also be interesting to every one of us, right? It's going to be very, very interesting to every one of us, which I think it's cool, and we can as well do it ourselves. So I'm going to give you an assignment as regards this, maybe after the class. So do you have any questions so far before we move to another one?
No, sir.
Oh, makes sense. So this next one we are trying to do right now is called iteration. It's called iteration. Right? So let me create a new class, a new file. So we'll be able, so we can easily trace everything together. So it's going to be iteration.py. So what do you mean by iteration? So we are done with conditions. So we can now see how conditions works, right? You can see what to use to when we really want to work with condition. Another thing is now, okay, we want to make it further. I want to like enjoy this and this coding class further is by imputing and making it more dynamic. We started with a static variable, right? Now we move from being static. We move from being static to working with iteration. But I think it's important for me to also teach, okay, let me teach iteration. So after that iteration class, we are going to go to that particular aspect, which I think is also very important. So let me quickly show you what iteration means, right? Iteration is, like I was saying, we started from being static, right? To be able to see, okay, how a variable can be used again. How can we do also use an input to make sure our code is also user interactive, right? Now, we've now seen how we can also combine those things we learned with conditions, right? Which is, I think, is very, very important. Another thing now is we now want to learn iteration. Iteration now means trying as much as possible to do things repeatedly. For example, I want to write your name 10 times. Do I need to start writing Camila, 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 Camila 10 times? No. There should be a way to write it in such a way that we just write one Camila and I will say Camila 10 times. Or I'm writing Miriam, I'm going to see Miriam in a million times. There should be a way I'm going to do that, even with just to write a line of code or 2 lines of code, maximum 3 or 4 lines of code, and I'm going to get what I'm looking for, right? So that is what iteration really means. So let me write it where iteration, and in some places we call it looping. Make it bigger for us to see it. Iteration in some places, or it's called loop, right? Looping through, right? So what does that really means? It is used to repeatedly execute a piece of code. Like I said, I want to write your name 10 times. I should be able to write something that will do that for me easily, right? So another thing, let me just quickly cite an example. So just imagine we have a task just to print 5 characters on our screen. We have the task to print 5 characters on our screen 100 times. For example, Nakel. I want you to show Nakel 100 times on the screen. How do you intend to do that? So what you have to do is you have to write that thing 100 times. That's the meaning. That is simple logic of what you're going to do. You have to write that thing 100 times, right? And that is not the best way to do. You will see that at the end of the day, you even want to make mistakes, right? Because at the end of the day, will be like, yeah, especially if you're using your hand to write. If you're not using your hand to write, the only thing you can do that will be faster again is to do copy and paste. Copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. And at the end of the day, it will still be stressful because there's an human interaction within it. But this one, I should be able to instruct my computer to do that particular task for me, even without doing any other thing aside writing that particular statement. And I'm gone, right? So, like I said, iteration comes to the rescue. Loop comes to the rescue to help us to doing that. And there are two main types of iteration statements. Those two main types of iteration statement are called for loop and while loop, right? Right? They are called what? For loop and while loop. So let me start with for loop for us. For loop. So what do you mean by for loop? What does for loop does? For loops is used to iterate over a collection of items, right? It is used to iterate over what? A collection of items. So I'm going to cite an example, right? So for example, I have a range of numbers or my name, Nakelgreen. I want you to iterate over Nakelgreen. So we can iterate over a string, you can iterate over a function. You can iterate over numbers. We can iterate over, there is something we call lists. Of course, I'm still going to teach you that one. We have lists, we have tuples and dictionaries. So after this particular iteration thing, that is what I'm going to teach you that. So we can easily see how best to use all these things, right? So we can easily use this to iterate over a collection of strings. So let's check how this works, right? So like I said, it is used to iterate over a collection of items, right? It might be string, it might be numbers, it might be list, it might be tuple, it might be dictionary, right? But I'm going to teach you deeply about lists, about tuples, and then about dictionary after this particular class, after this particular iteration class. I just hope we'll do that today. Okay, but let's quickly see how for loops works, right? So for us to start with for loops, if you really want to start with for loops, start with what? For, the for statement. Like I said, all this English we are using, these are English that we are used to, and that's one of the main reasons why Python is easier to learn, right? Because most things we are using are things that we are used to. They are normal English, and the meaning also depicts the exact meaning you have in the dictionary is the same meaning it also has here, right? So we are going to start with for, right? So I can now say for. So most of the time, this is something I want to tell you again. Most of the time, once a for starts, the next thing that follows it is going to be an unknown variable, a variable that you can just bring anywhere. So most of the time, in coding space, in programming world, we are used to using, right? We can just say for I, right? Then we can say for I in, can you see? For I in, now say my name, Nakelgreen. For I in Nakelgreen, right? So, but what I'm trying to tell you is this I is not necessarily, cannot necessarily mean I. I can also use your name, Mariam. You can use your name. So your name there will now be the variable, serve as a variable. Sometimes you want to use K, you can use L. You can use, the only thing is don't use keywords. I told you about keywords, right? Don't use the keywords, right? You can use any other statement, any other word that will serve as a variable here, right? So if I'm going to use, I can use L, I can use M, I can use B, right? For B in Knuckle, then, right? Then I can say print B. For B in Knuckle, I can say print B. So what this will show me, it will show me everything about this part. It will split this thing. So iterating over means going through that particular item and splitting it for me. That's just the meaning, right? Splitting it. So if I run this, you will see what this will show me. Can you see? Can you see it there? Instead of having it in a horizontal, in a horizontal form, we now have it in a vertical form. Another example I can give also is I'm going to comment this out. I can also come with numbers. I can say for this time around, I can use name. I can just say for Kami in a range function. That is in range, right? For Kami in range, say 8, right? For Kami in range 8, I can say print Kami. So what does this really mean? Range 8 is from 0 to 8. Print all the numbers within that range. Do you understand? Print all the numbers within that range. So if I run this, let's see what we have. Can you see? We only have 1, 2, 0 to 7. Right? I can have 0 to 7. I can change this from range 8 to say between 50 and 100. Print values between the 60 and 100 for me. And do that for obvious reason. So once I'm done with this, I can run. Let me run this code again. So why is this showing? Why is this not showing? Right? So why is this not showing? Except maybe I should change this from calm to calm. Maybe this will work. So why is this not showing anything? Why? It's because of the range I'm using. The range is between 50, comma, not dash. Can you see now? Aha. So basically, you can see that we can easily use for loops to making sure that we get these things done better. And that is how it works. We can also use these for loops to get into a list of an items. For example, I have a list of an item. So let me show you what the list means. It's going to be like this. I can say a list of an item can be list of colors, Abi? List of colors or list of different names in your class, right? So I can just say names, right? List of names in your class. So I can just have somewhere where I can just put a name, your names, right? The names of whatever thing I'm trying to look for, right? But what we can just simply do is, yeah, you can just have names. Let me just put that with names. Then start with this particular square bracket. This is an example of a list, but it's not going to be this. It's going to be an equality sign just to assign this. So inside here we have, so I think this has given me something else the other time. It gives me an idea of names, different names. So I can have John. Aha. I have John, Jim. Nope. Can have James. Can have Jimmy. I can have Jagun. Yeah. So yeah, I can now come here and say for we've done Cam, Abi. For Mar, from Mary. Okay, let me do Mary. For Mary in names. Then we can say print Mary. Can you see? So what this would basically do, what this for loop will do for me, it will go through this particular name, individual name, and bring them out. To just bring it out that way for me. So let's run it and let's see how it goes. Can you see? Just the way we have it here. Just the way we have it here, the way it showed us this, the way it showed us, it's showing us one after the other. Do you understand? Do you understand this now? So I think it's important for us to make sure all these things we get it better. Don't worry, I'm going to teach you how this comes into play. What's the name we are giving? What's the name we give it, and how do you really work with it? Don't worry about that. This is just an example of this, but I just have to make sure I teach you the for loop first, right? For iteration, right? So the second one I said we are going to talk about is the while loop. The while loop. So let me talk about the while loop right now. Let me write it. While loop. So what do you mean by while loop? While loop is sometimes if you are trying to work on something and want to put an end to it. For example, I'm going to Ibadan from Lagos. For loop, what for loop does for me is for loop we get to Ibadan before it stops because that is the destination, right? But I should be able to stop at the end of the day. So I should be able to stop at interchange, Shagam interchange, or middle toll gate. So averagely, I want to assume middle toll gate is the middle point between Lagos and Ibadan. I should be able to stop there, buy something, and do some other things, right? So if I'm doing that, then what will help me do that in coding, in programming, is called a while loop, which means that if I want to execute, I want to truncate a particular process going on, right? I should be able to truncate that particular process with a while loop, and that is where while loop comes into play. What for loop does for me is, I already told for loops I'm going to Ibadan. Do you understand? I've told for loops we are going to Ibadan. For loop will only get to Ibadan before it stops. But sometimes I can go to Ibadan, right? At the same time, stop at middle toll gate, right? So that is where while loop comes into play, and that is what while loop does in the real sense, right? And while loop will just help us to stop until a certain condition is met, right? It will stop until a certain condition is met. So, and that is how it works into place. So basically, the way we normally do it is we're going to start with, most times we use a while loop, a while for it. While is also the key word for it, just like we use for loops, right? So for example, if I'm going to start my value from 1, I can just say cam is equals to 1. I'm assigning cam to be 1, right? I can now start with a while loop. I can now say while cam, right, is less than 11, then print cam. Print cam. This particular code will make sense, right? Because what I want to print is I want to print 1 to 11, 1 to 10 from what I've written here. Instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is what I want to print. Instead of writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I want to write a code that will do that for me. I can write to 1 million. Are you getting what I'm saying? But there is a way we can do it with just 4 lines. So I'm saying cam to start from 1. And when they start from 1, while cam is less than 11, right? Print cam, which means anytime cam is less than 11, always print it. So it means you need to stop when that particular value is greater than or equal to 11. Right? How do we now do that? So we need to now write the next line of code that will now tell us how to iterate, right? We can now say cam will be equals to cam plus 1. So which means we can rewrite this thing again. I'm going to show you how to rewrite this thing based on what we've done in class. We did this. I think I explained this also for you in class, right? This is a very, very important class. Please listen very well. So what it means is anytime I print, so cam is 1, yes. It will now say cam 1. Is 1 less than 11? Yes. 1 is less than 11. Then it will print 1. So it will now come to this next line and say 1 equals to 1. This is the original. This is 1 plus 1, which is 2. So this new cam becomes 2. Then 2 comes back here. Is 2 less than 11? Yes, it's less than 11. It will come back here, print 2. This 2 comes here. 2 plus 1 equals to 3. 3, right? This is 3 again now. 3 is 3 less than 11 until it now goes to 10. Is 10 less than 11? Yes, 10 is less than 11. It will now come here and say 10 plus 1 is equals to what? 10 plus 1 is equals to what?
11.
Huh? 11. Is 11 less than 11?
No.
Aha. So that is when it will stop. That is the conditional statement that we said. That is the condition. It only stops when a certain condition is met. Right? It stops when the certain condition is met. So I can say, I can program my car and say, car, when you get to 60-kilometer drive from Lagos, stop. So my car will continue checking. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are okay. We are now 10 kilometer, 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer, 40 kilometer, 50 kilometer, 55 kilometer, 60, 58 kilometer, 59 kilometer. Once it's exactly 60 kilometer, my car will stop if I write this particular program to my car. And this is where while loop works very fast. Right? And we can rewrite this thing using our normal assignment operator. Remember the assignment operator that we did in class? I can write this particular code. So let's run this just for you to see what this will show us. Let me comment that out. So let's run this. If you run this, you'll see what it will show us. Can you see? 1 to 10. I did not write it. It's a code that with just how many lines of code? 1, 2, 3, 4. It generated like 10 lines or 20 lines. With this same for, we can generate 20, 50 lines, right? Like I said, I want to rewrite this using the assignment operator that we did in class. So I can also come here and say assign and add. I can say come, right? Can be equals to add and assign, right? We can say one. I can just say add and assign to come. I can say 1. Do you understand? I can say add. This is cam itself, right? Then I can use add and assign. Where is the assign? 1. So always add 1 back to cam. This is what we did in class. Go and check the our previous class. Sorry. Go and check our previous class. This particular thing was there. I gave you an assignment to do that. I said you should do that of modulus, do that of division, do that of this, do that of that. You did not respond, right? But no problem. No problem. But what I'm trying to tell you is assignment is very key, very, very key in my class, right? It's very, very key in my class. So this is what we did here is the exact thing of what we did. I was explaining, saying cam equals to cam plus 1. So which one would you have preferred? We would have preferred this because this is faster compared to this. So what I've just done is add 1 and assign it back to cam. Add 1 and assign it back to cam. So it comes here, add 1. So if my cam is 2, add 1 to 2 and assign it back to cam, it becomes what? 3. You now comes here and do that thing, right? So that is how it works. If I run this also, I should get the same answer. It's going to be the same answer. Can you see? It's the same answer. So imagine this is not there. If this is not there, the question is going to be, if this is not there, what will happen, right? What will happen is there will be an infinity. It will just be running. 1, 1, 1, 1. It's 1, 1, 1, 1 that it will be showing. Let's check. If I run this, you will see. 1, can you see? To infinity. Check this out, oh. Please check it out. Can you see? Are you there, Miriam? Camila, can you see what I'm trying to say? It won't
Yes, sir.
stop. It won't stop at all. And for you to stop it, you just come here and come and stop, truncate this particular process. Can you see? There's an interruption, right? But what we just need to do to make sure we get that back is to have this. Once we have this, everything becomes better. So we have all this back, right? The condition is met, and that is when it stopped. Another thing we can use this to do, which I think I want to, like I said, I showed you how to use if, is to write multiplication table. You can use this while loop to write our multiplication table. So I want to write multiplication table 9. I want to write multiplication table 9. So how do we use this to write a multiplication table? Very easy, right? So I'm going to stop there. This is where we're going to stop today. But I'm going to show you where how to write a multiplication table 9. I'm going to use a 9 multiplication table. So I'm going to start with an integer. So maybe we are going to use marv. We start with 1. We can also start with 0. Can start with 0, right? So we are going to start while mar is less than or equals to 12, because we are stopping at 12. Then you can see the way I'm saying my then is what? Full colon. I'm speaking English here. Then this time around, I will just say print 9 times, this is how times can show, right? 9 times. Then this time around, we'll just do something like this. 9 times. Then there's something we call concatenation. Concatenation is trying to add two strings together. So once you have a string, you want to add the string together, we use concatenation, which is a positive sign. So a positive sign, which is addition statement, we use it to add numbers. So we can also use it to add strings together. Once you use it to add string, it's not going to add them, it's just going to join them together. For example, I have Mariam, I have Camila Ishola, right? I want to have Camila Ishola together. I can use string. They are both strings, right? And I want to join them together. I will only use positive sign, which is called concatenation, to add them together. And that is how we are trying to do this. So for example, so let me quickly cite that example. Let me quickly cite the example for you. For example, I have Mariam. So let me just say first name. Can say first name equals to Mariam. Can say last name I can say last name equals to Ishola, right? I can come here and say print first name and last name. That is in terms of the string itself. I can come here and just put addition. If I do addition, it also comes into play. So, right, okay, this is not print statement. So I can do print function. Yeah. So if I run this, I'm sure this will run better. I have to comment this out. Comment this out. Then come here. Let's print this and let's see what this will show me. There are two ways this will show me. Can you see? I have Miriam Mishola. Another way to do this is with a comma, with just comma, it will also run because I'm working with what? Variables, right? With comma, this will work because I'm working with what? Variables, right? But if I just have Miriam here, right? I want to join Miriam Mishola together. What I will just do is come into my print statement. I don't have it here. Come into my print statement, right? Because they are all strings, right? I can just say I have Miriam, right? That's another one. Then I have another Ishola. Add another one, right? So if I run this thing together, it will might not really work, right? So the only way to do this together is to have what? A concatenation, which is plus. So here, in between, there will going to be a space, and you will see that Maria Ishola will be back. So if I don't have the space here and I run it together, does this way, can you see? You have Maria Ishola, right? So if this is not there, and let's run, let's see what this will give us. But if you have a space in between, the space will always give us that concatenation, right? And we can only do this with what? Strings. Please note, we can only do this what? With strings. It's only string that we can only use this together. So if you want to add a string together with a number, which is an integer, we have to convert that integer to a string. So for example, I have this and I want to convert it with 9. Say, I want to say Miriam in is in our coming is in our teens. So let me just pick a random number. This is not your age, oh. It's not your age, oh. You just want to put a random number to your name, to your age. So I have this, right? Miriam is in her teens. I want to show everybody that Miriam is 18, right? This is what I've written. But I cannot do this because if I run this, you'll see what it will give me. Can you see what it's giving me? Let me show you the error it's showing me. What's the error? Can you please read it out for me? Type error. Someone should please read it out.
And only also concatenate string, not integer string.
Ah, so how do we now do this to make sure that my 18 is also a string? Right? The only way I can do this is to make sure that I convert this to a string using a string function. So how do I do that? I can just add an str string. I've not changed my 18 from integer. It's still an integer. But how to convert that integer to string for me to be able to convert for me to be able to concatenate what I'm writing here into a string, right? If I now run this again, you will see that it will be correct. Why is it correct? It's correct because this is now seen as a string. This 18 is now string like what? Is now seen as what? As a string. Can you see? Miriam is in R18. Do you understand? Do you understand? So if you now understand this better now, so we can now go back to what I was teaching, talking about this particular while statement, right? So for the while statement, I have this. Then I want to say mar, because don't forget, my mar is an integer. Abi, if mar is an integer, I can't just write mar. It won't work, right? What I can only write is to make sure that I convert this mar to an integer. So it's going to be what? An str into bracket mar, right? So I've been able to do that. So it's going to be 9 times 1. Do you understand? Which can be equals to, my equality sign should be a string also. So I'm going to concatenate it. I have this. It's going to be a string, which is going to be an equality sign. Are you together? Are you with me? Then I have another string that will now give me the real answer. Don't forget, my real answer will now be 9 using this particular symbol, Abi, times is not going to be mar at that particular period, right? 9 times mar will give me the answer. However, don't forget, everything I have here is a string, right? Everything I have here is a string, so I need to convert it to a string. Everything I have here is an integer, sorry. Everything here is that because 9 is an integer, mar is also an integer. So I need to convert everything to a string. So the way I'm going to do that is going to just write str, and convert this to a string. So once this is done, and of course it's done, I don't think we have any other issue again. I don't think we have any other issue again. So the only issue we are going to have here is concatenation that we need to put. So after that, I think we are done. Then we can now come here and say mar will be add and assign to 1. Then if this is not palatable for you, we can also do mar can be equals to mar plus 1. It's the same thing. Do you understand? This one is the same thing as this one, but this is faster, better compared to this, right? That's why I went up, and we've done work with this together many a time, right? So you now see the multiplication table that you normally write. If I run this particular code, you will see what it will write. Till 12. Can you see? 9 times 1, 9. So we have this issue of space here. So I want to put space there. I think I showed Camila how to do that earlier. Right, so you can see 9 times 1, 9. So if there is going to be a space between 1 and this, I can do that again. I can just do it this way. So there's going to be a space between my results, then there's going to be a space between the real multiplication table itself. So I can write 9 times 1, 9, 9 times 2, 18. I know I don't need to do all this calculation. Computer is doing the calculation for me, right? And how do I explain this? It started with 1, right? So when my mar is 1, is mar less than or equals to 12? Yes. So it's going to be 9 times 1, which is here, equals to 9 times 1, which is the normal mathematics that we did. Remember? During our last class. Abi? Normal mathematics that we did using this times this. Are you with me? Mariam, Camila, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Aha. So please check this video over and over and over again. If you have any issue, let me know, right? Let me know if you have any issue. So you will see that every other thing that we've done, it's as a result of what we've been doing so far. I'm not bringing anything from heaven. I'm just trying to build on what we are doing, what we've done. We've done this in class, during the last class, right? I've been able to teach you how to convert an integer to string by just putting this. We can also convert a string to an integer. Can also do that. But most of the time, what we do is to convert an integer to a string, right? We can also convert a string to an integer. It's possible using an integer function, right? But this is what we're trying to do. So until you get to like 12, 12 is 12 equals to great less than or equals to 12? Yes. So that is when you're going to have 9 times 12 equals to 9 times 12, which is going to be what? 108, right? Which is going to be 108. So do you have any questions so far? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
What did you say?
No, sir.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. So no problem. So my assignment is going to be very simple. So you for the for loop, for the if function, right? For the if function, create a function for us to be able to check for grade. So I want to know grades. If the result is 70, show you are excellent. If it is 60, 70 and above, show you are excellent. If it is 60, show very good. If it is 50, show good. If it is 40, show failure. Okay? Show failure. That's going to be my first assignment. The second assignment, which I'm going to give you, is going to be on for loop and while loop. So this while loop, try and replicate what we've done. Try and do 8 times table, 7 times table, and 15 times table. 8 times table, 7 times table, and 15 times table. So do all these 3 coupled with the assignment I've given you. And I want this assignment submitted tomorrow. Yes, because you have another class on Thursday. Tomorrow. I want all these assignments submitted tomorrow. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. So I'm not going to get my laptop on tomorrow.